Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to get started in just a moment, so hang tight. All right, I see some more people joining us. As you're getting settled, find your way to the chat box and let us know where you're tuning in from today, and as a bonus, what your superpower is. All right, very good. I see we've got Robin from Denver. Welcome. We've got Neil from Santa Clara, Debbie from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We have Sarah from Omaha, Shelby, and your superpower is being super patient. That is indeed a great superpower to have. We've got Kindy from Grass Valley, being a mom of four. Superpower, absolutely. Excellent. We've got Amy from Stuart, Florida. Welcome, Dana. And your superpower is problem solving. Love it. We have Joanne from Salem. Oh my gosh, so many great nonprofits here with us today. Thank you for spending an hour with us. We're going to go ahead and dive in. And again, today's webinar is all about how to capitalize on year-end spending to raise more. I'm super excited about this content and our presenter, which we will introduce in just a moment. But before we do that, let's cover a little bit of housekeeping here. So we are using Zoom, as I'm sure many of you are aware, and all lines are muted. So if you have a question, you can either raise your hand or you can put it into the chat. And that's more if you have technical questions. If you've got questions about the content today that you'd like to ask the presenter, navigate on over to your Q&A. You'll see like two message bubbles in your Zoom menu, and that is the best place to put your questions, and we will look through that and we will answer questions from there. We do have a pretty large crowd with us today, so we might not be able to get to everyone's questions, but we'll certainly do our best. And if for some reason you have to step out or you want to rewatch something, no problem. We're going to send a recording of this webinar to you in your email within the next couple business days, and we'll also include some other resource links in there for you as well. All right, now with that out of the way, a little bit about not housekeeping, I should say TechSoup. We already did housekeeping. So TechSoup equips changemakers with transformative technology solutions and skills they need to improve lives globally and locally. So TechSoup does a lot more than just offer discounts on services and products. We also provide support, training, community, and more to help over 1 million nonprofits globally. And we're proud to work with our generous donor partners to build a technology product philanthropy program that truly serves nonprofits, libraries, and the foundations across the country and around the world. And you can check out all of our great offerings from our partners by visiting our nonprofit tech marketplace at techsoup.org/get-product-donations. And I'm going to include that link in the chat, and any other links that we mentioned throughout this presentation today, I'll make sure to include in chat, so do keep an eye on that. Okay, now on to today's presenter. Well, first of all, I'm Nicole Jones at TechSoup. I didn't introduce myself, and I'll also say my superpower is resiliency, which has been a theme this year, as many of us know. And our presenter today, I'm super pleased to welcome Molly Trerotola. She is Vice President of Social Impact at Good Deeds, a no-cost fundraising platform that generates a new source of scalable and sustainable funding for nonprofits from brands facilitated by consumer purchases. Molly's experience spans tech, philanthropy, and corporate social responsibility in the US and abroad. We're super glad to have her here with us today. Welcome, Molly.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm excited to be here. All right, great. With that, I'm gonna get things started and share my screen. Just give me one moment to get things rolling. All right, let's kick it off. First of all, thank you so much for being here with me today. I think we have over 300 participants on the call. I'm so excited to share this topic with everyone. I think it's going to be a relatively new topic for a lot of attendees. Before we dive in, I just want to give you kind of a roadmap for what we're going to talk about. So first, current state of consumer spending and how spending and giving is going to be impacted this year. We'll go over the fundraising hack that is consumer-driven philanthropy and explore the rise of consumer-driven e-commerce. Really, this is to provide you with a solid background for what consumer-driven philanthropy is and cause marketing. And then we'll also get into some real-world examples of this, as well as some strategies at the end of the presentation that you can tap into as an organization. But really, this presentation is intended to lay the groundwork for what corporate philanthropy looks like, why it's on the rise, and how you can tap into it. Nicole, thank you so much for that introduction. Just to reiterate, hi, my name is Molly. I'm the VP of Social Impact at Good Deeds. Feel free to write down my email and follow me on Twitter. Good Deeds is a new company, a new tech company that's harnessing the power of consumerism and consumer purchases to raise more money and generate a new source of fundraising revenue for nonprofits. So this is our secret sauce. This is our bread and butter. I'm excited to share a little bit about Good Deeds, as well as the background to like why we're doing what we're doing and how nonprofits can tap into this new form of philanthropy, third-party fundraising. So it's very nice to meet you. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to get to know you a little better. So Nicole, thank you so much for launching some polls. All right, great. So first, I'd love to know, has your organization's fundraising been impacted by this year, by the pandemic? Also, second question, have you done any fundraising work with corporate partners or brand partners? And have you used any third-party fundraising platforms before? So this is outside of traditional fundraising, asking for donations on your website. Have you tapped into methods like Amazon Smile, for example, or Roundup donating? We'll give everyone a few moments to answer these polls and then share the results with everyone.
Let's see, looks like we're almost at 70% voted. We'll just wait a few more seconds here. And by the way, you might have to scroll down for question number 3 if you're not seeing that. And a reminder that this session is being recorded for those who have to drop off. And we will send it via email to everyone who registered. Great. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and we'll share the results.
Wonderful. Okay. So, wow, an overwhelming 65% have said their fundraising was affected by COVID this year. I know it's been a really difficult year for many reasons. It's been totally unpredictable. So thank you for sharing that. Looks like the majority of you have not done any work with corporate partners. So I'm sure you're excited to be on this presentation and learn more about the opportunities with that. And have you used a third-party fundraising platform? No. Well, thank you so much. Half of you has said no to that. Thank you so much for answering these questions. It gives me a solid foundation for where the participants in this webinar are, and some additional information I can share to help shape this presentation to be effective for you. And I hope that it's relevant and positive information that can help you raise more money. All right, so to get things started, I promise this is going to be about how to capitalize on spending to raise more, but what it really all comes down to is why diversifying your fundraising strategy is important. Number one, as we've seen, this year is unpredictable, and as you just shared, your fundraising strategies have been affected by that. And really diversifying your fundraising strategy all comes down to helping mitigate risk by not putting all of your eggs in one basket. What does that mean? That you're not putting all of your fundraising efforts into one strategy like individual fundraising on your website, or one strategy like an in-person event, because as we know from this year, things can change on a whim. And to protect ourselves and our organizations from risk like that, it's important to explore other fundraising avenues. And then hopefully by exploring these avenues and diversifying our strategy, not only does it protect our organizations and our fundraising, but also drives more revenue. What does this look like in practice? Well, I love using Malala Funds as an example because they do a really great job of having a clear call to action on their website that is directly donate, either a one-time, being a one-time donor or a recurring donor. But then if you navigate to their fundraising page, their ways to give, their options are super diversified. They have all of these different options for how individuals can support their organization outside of just a one-time direct donation. And to call two of these strategies out, we'll be talking about corporate partnerships, and then of course support as you buy and sell online, shop for good, how to capitalize on existing consumer behavior as a way to drive more funds into the hands of your nonprofit. We're going to talk about year-end giving and spending, and why we're calling out these two things, why they're important, and what you should be paying attention to. This is not news to, I'm sure, many of you, but end of year fundraising is a massive opportunity that should not be overlooked, because a third of annual giving happens in December. 12% of that happens in the last 3 days of the year. And to kick off year-end giving, really it's Giving Tuesday that sparks that. Last year, over 500 million was raised online on Giving Tuesday, with a total of 2 billion between online and offline donations. It's a massive opportunity. I'm sure all of you are super busy right now planning for your end of year fundraising strategy, if not already, having kicked it off. So because of that, I really appreciate your time on this call. But did you know that at the same time that year-end giving is kicking off and we're spending all of our time and energy on planning for year-end giving strategies in our annual appeal, at the same time, consumer spending is having its heyday as well. Last year, over 100 million buyers spent 7.4 billion on Black Friday and 9.4 billion on Cyber Monday, which is literally just a day before Giving Tuesday. Important to note here that Cyber Monday sales were up almost 20% from the year before. So these spending days are becoming more and more important. And then also millennials were the biggest spenders on Black Friday 2019. I'm including these stats because it seems like there's an opportunity here to capitalize on both of these major moments of online fundraising and online spending. And if we can harness the power of consumer spending just a little bit to drive donations into the hands of nonprofits and support our missions, there's a really big opportunity here. And then finally, just to recap of all of these stats, that this year is unpredictable. No one really knows what's happening with spending and giving. Some nonprofits have had a lot of success this year because of the relevancy of their organizations. A lot of nonprofits have had to either cease operations, have had significant staff cuts. It's a tough year, and we're going into the most important phase of the year for giving and for spending as well. And I think, brands and nonprofits alike are crossing their fingers that it's a positive outcome on both ends. And that by tapping into new strategies, hopefully we can mitigate some of that risk and shift our strategies to the changing tides of both spending and giving. Brands are changing how they market to consumers, and stay with me here because I'm laying the groundwork for how nonprofits play into this. One of the things brands are changing is how they market and advertise to consumers. They're tapping into new strategies as well, away from traditional advertising and marketing like TV and social and SEM, by investing more in discount spending. So card linked offers, affiliate marketing, cashback. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Honey. Brands are spending more money in these areas because of the return on their investment. And it's projected that 254 billion will be spent on this new marketing model of cashback offers by 2022. Why are they changing? Well, simply because other channels are more expensive and are less effective, or these new channels are proving to be more effective marketing and advertising channels for brands. And then just to tease how nonprofits kind of fit into this, and again, I promise all the pieces will come together, but discount and cashback advertising and marketing for brands is on the rise because simply it works. Cashback is cool. In a survey that Good Deeds launched earlier this year, almost 90% of consumers said that they look for promotions or discounts before buying an item. Almost 70% said that they would use a cashback platform, and 60% of consumers said that they're actually likely to adopt a cashback platform if they can donate some of the cashback they earn to a nonprofit of their choice. And this is how nonprofits kind of play into it. So in the changing tides of how brands are marketing and advertising to their customer base, as well as this opportunity for users to earn cash back just through their consumer purchases and get discounts, therein lies an opportunity for nonprofits to step in and potentially harness some of that cash back and harness some of the money that's being spent on advertising and marketing. At the same time that brands are changing how they market to consumers and are advertising, part of that has been a significant increase in cause marketing, which is supporting certain nonprofits and cause areas that resonate with their consumers. Simply because it's been proven that cause marketing partnerships work and benefit both parties, both nonprofits and brands. A good stat to back this up is that just in the last year, or between 2018 and 2019, corporate giving increased a whopping 13.4%. And when you compare that to overall giving, that was only 5%. This is just an indication that companies are giving more to nonprofits because it's working for them. They know that individuals, especially younger consumers, millennials and Gen Zers, are values-driven consumers. They want to shop at brands that align with their values. They want the receipts to prove it, and they're more likely to spend money at brands and in a premium, if that, on products from brands that align with their values and have been proven to support certain nonprofits that they're passionate about and causes that they're passionate about. A couple other reasons why corporate philanthropy is so popular right now. Well, number one, right now being this year, number one, nonprofits need more funds. We're in the middle of an economic crisis that has disproportionately affected the civic sector. As we just saw in the poll, many of you answered a lot of your fundraising has been affected this year. And brands have taken note of that. We're in the middle of a pandemic and a social and economic crisis. Consumers care and they want to do more. They want to know about brands' corporate social responsibility and their corporate social impact. And as I just mentioned, they're willing to spend more at companies that are socially oriented. And then, of course, brands want to give more. They've taken note that corporate social impact is increasingly important for them. It's no longer a nice to have, it's a must have if they want to continue to appeal to a consumer base and a younger consumer base at that. And that their consumers have expressed a lot of interest in them, wanting to shop at brands that align with their values. Some more data to back up how cause marketing, the shift to cause marketing as part of the changing tides of how companies are advertising and marketing to their customer base is in this. You can just see a couple data points here that, especially this year, marketing and advertising strategy has changed. It's shifted. Cause marketing is on the rise. Brand equity is more important. But performance marketing has decreased. So this should just show you that companies are taking note of consumers' wants and desires to shop at brands that align with their values. They want companies to have a positive social impact. And then, of course, if a company is effective in doing this, the outcome is that their brand is associated positively with a cause area that is important to them or that they've done work with. I really love this chart. It's an interactive data point chart from Do Something Strategic that provides data points around millennials and Gen Zers to companies that they partner with. And this was about, how individuals associate brands with certain cause areas. So this is the pinnacle. If a brand can be organically associated with a certain cause area from the work that they've done, doing well starts with doing well for a company starts with doing good. And this is like the proof that they can translate their impact into positive business outcomes. So this is where nonprofits kind of fit into it. Corporate philanthropy comes in many forms. We're going to be focusing in this presentation on the highlighted pieces, obviously cause marketing, philanthropic no strings attached donations, and then towards the bottom of this list, you can see checkout campaigns and shop for good. These two things at the bottom are where the smaller nonprofits can really capitalize on the momentum of end of year spending and different spending milestones to raise more for your organization and diversify your fundraising efforts. And then I also just wanted to mention at this time that it's not just that that companies are donating to nonprofits and calling it a day. There's also been a significant increase in the number of certified B corporations, and these are companies that kind of sit in between for-profits and nonprofits. While they are for-profit companies, they consider the impact of their decisions on their workers, consumers, suppliers, larger community, and the environment. So at the same time that corporate philanthropy is on the rise, companies are also reassessing their business models and how they impact the larger community. Part of that is certainly, the work that they do with nonprofits, but it's also, it just means that, companies are noticing that they are being held accountable for their work, not just giving donations, but also how their work affects their internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders. And I just wanted to note that this piece is really important to Good Deeds as a company. We're a pending certified B corporation, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but it goes hand in hand with corporate philanthropy. It's not just saying, oh, we're doing good by giving a donation to a nonprofit. It's also incorporating these strategies, embedding it within the business model. In the next section of the presentation, I'm going to go through some cause marketing partnerships and how they can take on a variety of shapes and sizes. I want to give you a heads up that a lot of the partnerships I'm mentioning here are between large nonprofits and large brands. I'm sharing these as a way to illustrate that there's a variety of different ways that companies have worked with nonprofits in the past as a way to generate more fundraising dollars and for these mutually beneficial partnerships. And then towards the end of the presentation, I'll share some strategies that you as a small nonprofit can tap into, both with partnering directly with brands in your local community, but then also tapping into some innovative new technology resources like some Shop for Good resources, Roundup Donating, that go kind of along with Amazon Smile. As I mentioned before, some of the brand benefits, why companies are so interested in this right now is that partnering with nonprofits and supporting their missions helps drive more incremental revenue. This goes back to what I was saying before about, companies changing their tune and investing in different strategies. It also helps build and increase a brand's social impact, understands helps them understand causes their customers care about, and then can help optimize cross-sector partnerships with some of their existing nonprofit partners for bigger impact. And this goes with nonprofits as well, and I'll share some of the benefits of partnering with companies, but especially this year when, in-person fundraising events have been canceled and a lot of nonprofits got corporate interest in corporate donation dollars for those in-person fundraising events and have subsequently lost these donation dollars. Consumer-driven philanthropy is an alternative to that, and it's a way to continue to capitalize on these cross-sector partnerships without there being in-person events. So I'll talk about that a little later. One example I love to call out is this donation matching partnership between Instacart and Feeding America. A couple things to call out here that, looking at that list I just shared, the types of different corporate partnerships, this is a donation matching partnership where Instacart engaged Feeding America or vice versa. I'm not sure how the conversation got started between them, but I absolutely love this because there's a lot of overlap between these two companies for mutual benefit. One is they both have to do with food and food security. So Feeding America partnered up with Instacart that gave a one-to-one donation up to a certain amount and matched donations that individuals gave through Instacart to Feeding America. And then they also engaged the celebrity power of Serena Williams for this partnership. Another one was product fundraising between Puma and the Trevor Project. So Puma designed this exclusive product and the proceeds of this product would go directly to supporting the Trevor Project. There's also a creative partnership between Madewell and Charity Water as part of their Do Well initiative. Madewell donated almost 50% of the sales from this product partnership to Charity Water. This is just a good example of another product focused partnership. An organization I love to call out is Red because they've taken an alternative approach to their fundraising. Red actually doesn't do a lot of individual fundraising. They were an early adopter of this product-driven, consumer-driven philanthropy model. And the majority of the funds they raise actually come from their product marketing. So they partner with brands that rebrand select products to be Red, and then a portion of those sales goes as a direct donation to the Red organization. An example of a Roundup and Donate partnership is between Lyft and Save the Children. So where individuals had the option to round up their purchases to the nearest dollar, and then that rounded up amount would go to Save the Children as a donation. I'm sure you're familiar with this Roundup donating. It's very similar to point of sale donating that you would see when you check out at Walgreens. Do you want to round up your purchase to the latest dollar? But there are also a number of interesting tech tools and apps that as a smaller nonprofit you can tap into for Roundup donating as well. So again, I know these are examples of large organizations and large brand partnerships. So I don't want you to feel discouraged. It's simply just sharing that there's a multitude of different ways brands and nonprofits can partner together, and that cause marketing and the corporate philanthropy comes in many forms, whether it's donation matching, Roundup donating, volunteer engagement, and that tapping into the power of consumerism in these ways actually helps drive more dollars into the hands of nonprofits. One of the examples I also have been really interested in tracking recently is this recent coalition of brands that came together to create Brands for Better. So, and I think this is relevant to this audience because a lot of the brands that were part of this initiative, there are over 140 direct-to-consumer retailers, were actually on the smaller side. So as a way to support nonprofits during COVID relief efforts, they came together, formed this coalition, and they decided that anywhere between 2% and 5%, I think, of proceeds during a certain time period, they would direct to a handful of nonprofits selected by the brands. And they were really successful in raising almost $4 million for nonprofits and in COVID relief work. And I think the success of this initiative is just another sign that brands are paying attention to the work that nonprofits are doing, and that they can come together, and it's not just these one-off efforts, one-off donations to nonprofits, but they can actually come together and harness the power of their consumerism and e-commerce as a way to drive more dollars into the hands of nonprofits and support their work. So some of you, I think 70%, I'm just thinking back in the course on the poll, 70% of you said that you haven't done any work with brands. These types of partnerships are not exclusive to large organizations, not at all. There's actually a lot of opportunity for you as a nonprofit to tap into companies and brands in your local community. And there are a couple ways you can go about doing that. So here's the secret sauce for partnering with brands and being really strategic, and hopefully, providing your organization with a successful foundation for engaging in these types of partnerships outside of just, the one-off donation for your in-person gala or for your spring walkathon. There are ways to create partnerships that that kind of live on. So one of the things you should be aware of is be strategic in brand selection. That takes into consideration size, location, and make sure they're context appropriate, kind of like the Feeding America and Instacart example I shared before. There's a lot of overlap, so it made sense for the Feeding America audience as well as the Instacart audience. When you're approaching a brand, it's important to communicate clear value for that organization. And to do that, one of the things you can do to communicate clear value is define an overlap in audience demographics. So, for example, do you know that your supporter base is of an age group and certain area interest that the brand's consumer base is? If so, that creates some alignment and overlap for a successful partnership. One of the things you can also do is outline the marketing channels that are going to be used in this partnership. So a brand may say to you, okay, we want to partner with you, but what does that look like? What visibility will you give us? And I know it sounds kind of silly because you would hope that a brand would want to partner with you because of the positive impact, but it just adds a little incentive to them. And then, as part of the outlining marketing channels, it's important to calculate the potential reach on both sides. By engaging with each other in this cross-sector partnership, what kind of like a new donor audience will that brand help you tap into? And what kind of a new consumer audience will you help the brand tap into? And if you can, and there are many other things you should take into consideration when approaching a brand for a potential roundup to donate or a point of purchase or a percentage of proceeds going to your organization. But I think these 5 bullet points here are help with the secret sauce for a successful partnership. All right, so now we're going to get into how you can tap into consumer-driven philanthropy for nonprofits of all sizes, not just the large organizations that have these existing partnerships with large brands. Some of this will go into outlining the tech tools that are available and how you can engage with them for your organization. As I mentioned before, just reiterating the impact that consumer-driven fundraising can have on your nonprofit. One, it helps you raise more money and diversify your fundraising. So especially at this time of year, I'm sure all of you are, setting your fundraising goals towards end of year. Those goals will help define the programming that you can have in 2021. And that because there's this increase in both fundraising and then consumer spending at the end of the year, there's this opportunity to bring the two together and capitalize on spending to drive more fundraising dollars. It also helps expand your donor base in a way that that hasn't really been done before, and convert passive supporters into donors. And I'll explain that a little bit. I know in my conversations with nonprofits that we partner with, they're always looking for ways to convert their audience, their passive supporters, like social media followers and email subscribers, into active donors by tapping into consumer driven fundraising, you're giving an opportunity for someone to give to you without dipping into their own pockets, like with Amazon Smile, for example. So there's a lot of opportunity here to expand your donor base, but then also to appeal, to increase visibility for your organization by partnering with a brand that might expose your nonprofit to a whole new segment of donors. And then finally, it helps optimize some existing cross-sector partnerships you might have had that existed in a different realm, like a one-time donation to your organization or event sponsorship, by capitalizing on the power of that company's consumerism and consumer behavior. You're growing this partnership into it takes on a different shape, and one that is kind of evergreen and doesn't just exist at one time of the year, like a one-time donation. One of the things to take into consideration, and I think this slide really aligns with the secret sauce for partnering with brands, is being strategic about the timing of these types of partnerships. And then also when you're communicating this like consumer-driven philanthropy opportunity to your donor audience. So I know we're all aware of the seasonality of fundraising. There's also seasonality to spending. Consumer spending happens all year, as does fundraising, but with certain spikes around milestones like year-end giving and holiday shopping. So specifically around November and December, as the stats earlier in the presentation showed, Black Friday, Cyber Monday are huge consumer spending days. So if you were to do a fundraising push that lets your donors know they can give back to you in ways outside of just making an individual donation, communicating around these milestones and forming some fundraising strategy around these milestones would be strategic. Summer shopping, there's also an increase in spending during the summer months, as well as a spike in end of August, beginning of September, right before back to school. So if you were to incorporate some timing around your consumer-driven philanthropy as part of your fundraising strategy, this is when you should do it. And then also, I just wanted to note that while Black Friday and Cyber Monday are huge shopping days and a lot is spent on those 2 days, these dates actually they more mark the beginning of a discount month. So there are, even though these 2 days there's a lot of noise in the space, you can start communicating around like the opportunity that these days has for fundraising in advance, and then also post these 2 days. One of the strategies your nonprofit can tap into is round-up giving. So that's when individuals round up purchases to the nearest dollar, or they set a per purchase rule that adds a donation, and this comes from the donor's pocket. So it's capitalizing on existing purchasing behavior, and creates kind of a little micro donation within every purchase, but this comes out of the donor's pocket. Here are some examples of apps actually that as an organization you can tap into for roundup donating and then communicate this to your donor base. Flourish, Momentum is a new one that's really interesting. They're the organization that sets a per purchase rule to donate to an organization, to donate to a nonprofit of that user's choice. And then of course there's GiveTide. There's also Shop for Good. United Way is one of Good Deeds' partners. They have a lot of really great experience with Shop for Good. This is a good example of a totally diversified fundraising strategy. They cast a wide net and make sure they're taking advantage of as many different fundraising opportunities as possible. Of course, with the direct CTA, or the most important CTA being a direct donation to their organization. So Shop for Good is instead of the donation coming from the donor, the donation actually comes from the brand. It's a amount of money that the brand has set aside or created a rule. If a consumer spends this much, or we're going to donate a percentage of that purchase to a nonprofit of their choice. Amazon Smile is a good example of that. I like to call it Amazon Smile. I know in the description I said we'll be talking about other strategies outside of Amazon Smile, but I think this provides a good context for what this shop for good is. I know it's kind of a necessary evil. Not a lot of nonprofits want to push Amazon Smile because really it's pennies on the dollar. But it is something that can be, running in the background and has raised a significant amount of funding for nonprofits in total. But as you can see, this is my Amazon Smile here. I've only raised 14 cents for Equal Justice Initiative, which I'm very sad about. There are definitely downsides to this, as I'm sure you know. One of the downsides being that you don't get contact information and of the donors, so they only exist here, and it's like extremely, extremely micro donations. And then, of course, at this point in the presentation, I just wanted to share what Good Deeds platform is and how this also categorizes under Shop for Good for nonprofits, and how we're building off of this momentum, this changing tide of brands wanting to support nonprofits that their customers care about, as well as the shift in how they're marketing and advertising. So what Good Deeds is doing is we're an impact-driven commerce platform that makes giving a part of everyday spending by generating this new source of revenue for nonprofits from brands, but facilitated by consumer purchases. So going back to what I mentioned earlier in the presentation, brands are investing more in cash back and discount offers as a way to marketing and advertising. So what we're doing is harnessing those dollars from brands and actually driving them into the hands of nonprofits, but selected and facilitated by consumers' philanthropy preferences. That means your donors get to select a nonprofit that they care about, hopefully your organization, and can generate this new source of fundraising revenue for you without dipping into their own pockets. And these like Roundup donating and Shop for Good, as I was saying before, the micro donations, so donations under $10, but accumulated on an individual basis, as well as if you could look at the power of your unique donor pool, as well as your passive audience, like social media followers and email subscribers who aren't giving to you yet. The power of this is significant. It's small when you look at the per donation basis, but it can be mighty over time. So this right here is a snapshot from Good Deeds fundraising revenue calculators. It shows that based on the power of the number of donors participating or actively giving to your organization, selecting your organization like they would on Amazon Smile, if they contribute a percentage of the cash back they earn from brands as a donation to your nonprofit, it can actually be a significant source of funding on both a monthly and annual basis. So that's what we're doing as an organization. And we're really excited to be tapping into this new form of technology that capitalizes on this movement of brands contributing more into cause marketing and also being really concerned about their efforts to support causes their customers care about. We have over 500 top brands and nonprofit partners we're launching with. And just to take a step back, so I'm sure you haven't heard of Good Deeds before. It's because we're a new fundraising platform. We launched this spring with just me. I was the first full-time hire. And then 7 months later, we're a team of 30 people. And we've developed really strong partnerships with both brands and nonprofits on both sides to create this opportunity to generate a new source of income. And what we've realized from partnerships on the brand side is brands are willing to give, they're willing to invest more in a strategy like this because of the philanthropic aspect to it, which just reinforces the model. And we're really excited to see the impact of our technology on the unpredictability of this year-end fundraising and spending. But having it as another free tool in the tech space, in the nonprofit space, for nonprofits to fundraise more and diversify their fundraising strategy and do it in a way that that helps add a little bit more security for nonprofits, so that if something like 2020 happens again, crossing my fingers it does not, that nonprofits have mitigated risk and can rely back on fundraising strategies that can support them on an ongoing basis. If you're interested in reaching out to us and learning more about what we're doing, you can do that just by going to givegooddeeds.com. We're still enrolling nonprofits in our early access program and nonprofits we will launch with, but it will, again, function very similar to Amazon Smile, just in the sense that we're making giving a part of everyday spending and generating this new source of fundraising revenue. It's as simple as claiming your account. So please reach out to us, ask us any questions about this new strategy. We're excited to support you. To quickly recap on what I know, I just said a lot for many minutes about a very vague and wide topic, but just to recap, diversifying your fundraising is more critical now than ever because of the unpredictability of fundraising and the changing tides and things becoming more digital. As part of that, it's important to pay attention to the overlap between year-end shopping and spending and also giving, and exploring different creative strategies as a way to capitalize on both of those moments and create a cohesive fundraising strategy. One of the things you should pay attention to is that cause marketing is on the rise, and it creates an opportunity to generate more fundraising dollars from spending dollars, like cash back. We went over some success stories from large brands and nonprofits, as well as ways that organizations of all sizes can tap into the power of consumer-driven philanthropy without having the big name. And then finally, microgiving is small but mighty. And if your organization hasn't explored tapping into strategies like this, I definitely recommend it. Myself and my team are happy to answer any questions about how you can go about doing this for your end of year fundraising strategy. And at this point, I would love to open it up to questions in the next 10 to 15 minutes we have of the presentation. Thank you so much for bearing with us during this.
Woohoo. Thank you, Molly. Lots of great information there. And we have got lots of good questions here from the audience. So if you have a question, navigate on over to the Q&A feature of the Zoom menu and type away. You might also see a question in there from other attendees. And if you find one that resonates with you, go ahead and give it a like. That will float it to the top and we'll answer more or less in that order. I'll try to combine some questions here that have a similar question. But yeah, go ahead and navigate on over to Q&A and ask your questions, and also vote for the ones that you'd like to see answered. So let's start with this first question here. Let's see. Ooh, and I see a lot of people upvoting. So let me just give folks a couple moments here to vote for the questions they'd like to see answered live. And in the meantime, just read some responses in the chat from folks. Clara saying, thanks, very useful. Sharon saying, thanks, Molly, gave me hope for my small nonprofit. I'll be in touch. Awesome. Wendy says, terrific job, Molly. And Vinette says, great presentation. I'm glad it's recorded and we'll get a copy of the slides. Yes, and I should also remind you all that you will get a replay of this webinar in addition to the slides sent to your email that you registered for this Zoom webinar within a couple business days. So look out in your email in a couple business days for the recording and the slides, and you can go back and rewatch anything that you might have missed. Okay, let's start with this first question here from Susie. How does a smaller nonprofit take advantage of something like this?
Hi, Susie. Great question, and I understand why you have this question. It's all about how nonprofits of all sizes can capitalize on this. So, as I mentioned before, those large partnership examples were really to illustrate the variety of corporate philanthropy and how it takes on a whole bunch of shapes and sizes. Smaller nonprofits can take advantage of direct one-to-one corporate partnerships by being really strategic in their initiative and in their pitch to a brand. So that includes, what we said before, the secret sauce. So having there be overlap in location and context, and then being really clear with the brand about what the value is in it for them, and if there's overlap between your consumer base, as well as an opportunity to be mutually beneficial. Outside of those direct relationships, um, tapping into tapping into resources like Roundup Technology, like Good Deeds, like Amazon Smile, like there's another one called the Giving Assistant, can really support your organization and kind of run in the background as this passive technology that is kind of the gift that keeps on giving. And while it's not intended to replace your existing fundraising efforts, obviously the best way for a donor to support you is to give directly to your organization. But there is this world of possibility with consumer-driven philanthropy that nonprofits of all sizes can tap into through these technology resources that I just mentioned. I hope that answers your question.
Great. Thanks, Molly. Let's move to this next question from Lauren. Lauren asks, our nonprofit would eventually like to share the Good Deeds app with our base. What's the best way to encourage people to sign up to support our nonprofit? We'd like to send out an email blast. Are there email templates available for this?
Lauren, that's a great question. So there are multiple different touch points for incorporating a strategy like Good Deeds into your end of year fundraising efforts. Part of it can be, a standalone email to your supporter base. Obviously, I'm sure your email calendar is packed through end of year. So outside of there are also evergreen fundraising strategies beyond just sending a one-off email or social media posts that would drive individual donors to select your organization as a benefiting nonprofit on something like Good Deeds. One of those evergreen fundraising strategies is to have a call to action on your website, like we saw with the United Way example, where United Way says, we are integrated with all of these different platforms, eBay for charity, Good Shop, Good Deeds, for example. So you can include it as a call to action on your website and as a way to give. You can also incorporate something like Good Deeds in a post donation thank you message as kind of an upsell and an additional call to action. So when someone makes a donation, they get an automated thank you email, depending on what fundraising platform they're using. In that thank you email, you can have a call to action there that says, thank you so much for your donation. Are you on Good Deeds? You can support our organization in that way. So there are a lot of different touch points, and something Good Deeds is doing is actually providing the tools and resources nonprofits need to implement this successfully, because it is really dependent on the number of supporters. So we want to give you the tools to harness your supporter base within this technology.
Great. And our next question is from Rachel. Rachel asks, do we think that consumers and donors are fatigued? This year, more than most, there have been calls to action for donations, especially over the summer. So what can we do about this donor fatigue?
Rachel, that's a great question. I think donor fatigue is it's going to be inevitable. But I will say that I think end of year fundraising will be as successful as it has been in years past because of a few different things happening. This is an election year. We're also in the middle of a political and social moment, and because of that, based on historical context, people are likely to give as a result of what's happening in the news and in the world. I don't know if you're aware, but Giving Tuesday now in the spring actually raised the same amount that it did last fall. So it raised 500 million as well online. And that's an indication that like the seasonality of donating is decreasing, but the amount of dollars that are going to organizations are certainly not decreasing, while individuals may be donating to organizations that are more relevant to the times, like COVID relief efforts, like social justice efforts. The donor dollars are definitely still there.
Excellent. We've just got time for a few more questions here. Let's move to this question from Wendy. Wendy asks, how do you know who in a corporation to target to share your mission with? We found that we get handed off to the marketing department and later found that we were in the wrong department. Any tips there?
Oh, Wendy, that is such a great question. I have to tell you, in good deeds partnerships with companies, we meet with a variety of different individuals from marketing to corporate social responsibility. I would say, though, that if you're not having success with individuals in the marketing department, it would be a corporate philanthropy or corporate social impact department. For smaller organizations, though, I'm not sure they would have those departments. So I think marketing would be the best place for that. Um, it really just depends on the company. I'm sorry if that's not a, a solution oriented response to you, but it really just depends on the company. And I also know this from our work with high impact nonprofits and their corporate partnership work, their strategic partnerships with companies. It goes, yeah, between CSR departments and marketing departments. It depends on the company's initiatives, and then also what type of partnership it is. If it's just a one-off donation, that's not likely to be under the marketing department's jurisdiction. But if it's a cause marketing campaign, then marketing would be the primary stakeholder there. So that goes back to like the secret sauce slide with partnering with brands. What type of partnership are you pitching? And based on the type of partnership you're pitching, that would define who in the organization you go to.
And I just want to add to that as a tip that I found to be really helpful is by going to local meetups where there are like corporate social impact groups. Here in the Bay Area, we have a group called Startups for Good, and that's a really good place to meet people within corporations who really care about bridging, the for-profit with the nonprofit world. And maybe they're not the right person to talk to, but they'll certainly know who within that company is a good person to talk to. So just wanted to add that on.
Yeah, Nicole, that's a really great point. In the New York area, there's a wonderful social impact community called Be Social Change, and they bring in speakers from all of companies of all shapes and sizes. I love attending their webinars and presentations, but if you're interested in learning more about how companies partner with organizations, I think that would be a great resource as well.
Great. All right. Let's see. Let's take one more question here. Okay. So I think this one was kind of similar about the last one in terms of who to reach out to in a company. But let's hear maybe some more tips in terms of how do we build corporate relationships from scratch? Typically, where have you started, Molly?
Corporate relationships take on all different shapes and sizes, and they fall into different categories. So it depends on the type of partnership you're hoping to develop. And that comes along with being really strategic in your planning before you approach a brand. So clearly defining why you're going to that certain company, what you are asking of them, and then of course, we hope that the benefit for the organization is to have philanthropic investment, and they would be interested in that. But if you can outline and define what the benefit is for them, like expanding their consumer base and then also aligning with your nonprofit because of the recent impact you've had, the better. So I would start with developing a strategy that incorporates some of the bullet points shared earlier in the presentation about the secret sauce for partnering with brands.
Love it, Molly. So much good advice and best practices and information about good deeds. Anything else that you want to share or maybe saw and questions that you want to make sure we address?
Yeah, I do see a couple questions about good deeds, and I just want to answer those before we hop off. So, is there a fee for nonprofits to use good deeds? No, it's a free resource. We're actually powered off of the brands we partner with because of the philanthropic component. Um, there was another question, if good deeds supports small local nonprofits. Yes, absolutely. As an organization, you just need to be a 501c3 public charity, and then you can apply for access to our platform. And you can then onboard your supporters to the platform using our technology. So in that spirit, we're democratizing philanthropy by providing this powerful technology to nonprofits of all sizes, and we're excited to support you.
Right on. Well, Molly, it's been such a delight having you here with us today. And I know this is a newer concept for some folks who have joined here today, at least another tool in their tool belt when it comes to fundraising. So we really appreciate you being here with us and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks for attending.
Before we hop off real quick, oops, I just want to share about some upcoming events that we have here. So, next week, we've got one on developing your security foundation, a guide for nonprofits during the pandemic and beyond. We have a couple more events coming up, one on using email drip campaigns to thank donors and raise more funds. And then we've got a TechSoup tour coming up next month, all about how to access donations, discounts, and services. I've included the link for all of our upcoming and past webinars in the chat so you can easily navigate there. And lastly, please take some time to fill out our post-event survey. That really helps us plan for better content in the future. It'll just take you a minute or less. Once again, thanks for attending. It was so great having you all here and for all your questions. I'm sorry we didn't have time to get to all of them, but we so appreciate you and we look forward to seeing you around the TechSoup community. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.